welcome to our Punchestown Rewind. Myself and Ruby have been joined by Patrick Mullins. Patrick, you're very welcome along. Punchestown, you can't really start Punchestown without starting with the Latouche. And the first one we're going to look at is Uncle Junior in 2012. I think you remember this one quite fondly.
Dude, this is probably my favourite ever win, to be honest. And Uncle Junior, the yellow cap just jumping now, he was a real character. Like, we were last early on. He was grumpy, he was grouchy, but he was a great old character. This is Ruby's double now. He was.
Is this fun to ride in? Or is it mad?
It was. This year was the year. It was very, very wet. They almost called off. They called off all the chases, and the last jump here is a hurdle rather than chase. All the chases today were put back to later in the week. It was absolutely, and that's why I love this. It's 4.5 miles, 4 mile 2. Uncle Junior was carrying 12 stone 7. We come from last. You can see myself and Nina in the blue and Arabella Boy. We're knocking each other down, trying to get the same position. Paul Carberry's beside, so I'm following Paul and Nina, but I'm flat out. But Uncle Junior was a bit like Billaway. You always knew he'd keep finding, he'd keep coming. And this was that tight bend. Tally him up is in front. JJ Slevin is second in Light in House. Down to the second last here now, and I think someone gets a fall here. Yeah, which actually spurs my fella on a bit. But
you're still miles, 4.5 miles in, you're miles out.
And Champagne Fever had won the bumper the night before, and we'd actually gone out in Nace, and I remember turning in thinking, we might have stayed out a bit long. I remember having to take a deep breath, but took a deep breath anyway, and got going down to the last, and we jump it well, but we jump into a horse. Yeah, jump in, pull him out, and thinking, after losing all my momentum now, pull him out again, 100 yards, and thinking, please get there. Like I was saying, 4.5 miles, heavy ground, 12 stone 7, and just get up
one
in the...
versus 17, give him plenty of weight.
Yeah, I think we were giving 1.5 stones to the second horse, and he just gets up. And to me, that's national racing, you know. The Latouche, traditional race, big weight, heavy ground, long distance, and still down to the last. And I remember coming in afterwards, and Tony McCoy was there, and he just said, I can't know exactly what he said, but he gave me a compliment anyway, and I just remember thinking, that'll do, yeah.
Okay, many years later, how many years later that... 3 years later, Uncle Junior again.
Sun is shining. Uncle Junior wasn't a good jumper. I wouldn't have led him up in a cross country race, let alone have ridden him.
Really, yeah?
Yeah.
He was the first year we went to Cheltenham. He won in November twice. First year we went to Cheltenham, I went over to school that morning, and he wouldn't jump. He refused 3 or 4 times. But in the race, once the blood was up, he was fine. But this is good ground this time, and yet he's still able to be there. Now it's a smaller field. He travelled better. Again, I'm following Nina. On endless quantitative easing is the horse.
And you know your way around, right? You don't have to get the map of the course before.
No, they've changed it now. Do you know? I wouldn't know my way around now actually, because we haven't replaced them. I remember at the time thinking, I know, young 20s, so we'll have one of these every year. Yeah. And we haven't replaced them since. And we've had how many hundreds of horses? And as you said, he wasn't one you say, oh, he'd make a great cross country horse.
Yeah. Someone gave him to you and said, here, go take him off cross country there, you'd say, I'm all right, please. I'll take the day.
I got plenty of falls off him, and his own way of doing it. He used, he wasn't exuberant. And Ruby's double, they filled in the banks. I never rode over the dikes when they were full, but he always used to jump up and he'd land down in the sand on the bank. But you're not meant to jump over it, but he'd always just land in it. And then they'd put in birch one year, which they have birch here now. And the first time we went over, he jumped up, went to jump down into the sand. It wasn't there, and he just headbutted the ground, went straight down, got a fright. He was that kind of. He wasn't that he was clever, but in his own way.
It's very polite. It's very polite.
Do you like riding these kind of races? I know you
didn't ride in very many of them
because obviously you were a professional and you wanted to mind yourself and all that. But
I didn't ride in very many of them. I rode a lot of cross country when I was younger, but no, I didn't.
It's just the mad jockey, and you that sort of stuff is kind of interesting now. Like, would you go out on a hunt?
I used to.
Yeah.
I don't hunt much anymore.
Would you? Or would you mind yourself?
I haven't. No, you would just mind yourself. I've always been told, just don't get injured doing something.
Yeah, do something stupid like
another fall at the second last. That was always a tricky fence. It's off a tight bend for racing. I've got a split, and again it's Nina and Quanta Reason, and I want to get her out of here early as I can. We've gone at it, and like to go down to the last with Nina, like same with Jamie. They're the two people you want to beat. You're big rivals, and you want to have head-to-heads. And I remember I'd had a lesson with Yogi Breisner quite early before or near that, and he thought I put some of it into practice, pull the stick left and right, and it's head-to-head, neck and neck with Nina, and he gets up. And 3 years later, after I think he was 12 or 13 then, he ran at it when he was 15 was his last run.
Yeah.
And I got a great kick out of that. He was just a tough horse.
And did you because he'd won so doggedly the previous time in the rain, did you have more confidence there that you're going to outstay Quantum
That was 3 years before. We'd done plenty in between, but you couldn't, even though he was a horse with stamina, you couldn't force him. I couldn't, you say, well, you stay, so why don't you jump off in front and go forward? You couldn't do that with him. You had to. Okay. And some days I'd jump off on him, and we'd be detached to halfway, and we'd pull up. But I think he lasted longer because I let him do that. Not that I let him do that, but
you didn't beat the crap out of him to get
I didn't put the gun to his head every day,
So we're going to move on to 2017, and this is an interesting year because this is the Gigginstown split year. So Gordon Elliott actually looked like he was going to win the Trainers' Championship. This is the second last day of Punchestown, so the second last day of the season for the trainers. Your dad basically owns the Trainers' Championship, and I'm guessing wants to retain it. And a lot of pressure on, right?
Well, look, we'd had the Gigginstown split. We'd lost 60 horses, and a lot of the horses had gone directly to Gordon. So the year before, we'd gone down to the last day of the English season, trying to win the English title, had just failed. Yeah. So this is the change. So we've gone from nearly winning the English title to going down to the second last day of the season in Ireland, still behind. So it was interesting what went on here. So obviously,
this is Wicklow Brave.
I'm on Wicklow Brave, the gold cap, the purple. But Lebeac has ran earlier in the week. He's turned out again, and obviously he was a bit of a thinker. And I think Ruby might have got a false start early on, did you?
On Tuesday, we got a false start in the novice hurdle on the Tuesday, and he stood and didn't race. Now this race got messy because on the left is shot in the orange colours. It's Diacali. He wouldn't line up and go. Lebeac is the other grey, and the right is shot in the orange colours. I'm in the pink in front, and it was fraught.
Okay.
But I think there's already been a false start here. So if you want to hit it now, but watch me with the gold cap. My lads goes to refuse to start.
Oh jeez.
And we jump off last, stone last.
And is that unusual for Wicklow Brave?
Yeah, well, in this race.
Yeah.
But it's his first time wearing blinkers. Willie, this year, I think 5 horses ran in blinkers. I think 4 of them won, and we stopped using blinkers after that again. But so I'm meant to be jumping off handy, and I've jumped off last because I nearly didn't jump off. Yeah. Diacali hasn't jumped off. Lebeac has jumped off, so that's the first thing going on. You've got Katie on Ivan Grozny. Ruby rides Room Mag as a favourite. Identity Thief Brian Cooper in front.
Tombstone. Jack
Kennedy with Tombstone. Aidan Coleman on Bouvard there. David Mullins is riding for Nicky Henderson. I can't remember that horse's name.
Went to America after. Horse of Michael Buckley's. Can't think of his name.
And Paul Townsend on Arctic Fire. So there's some great horses in here. But basically, Brian's gone a right gallop. I've got my fella travelling. I'm keeping him wide because I want him to have daylight. I want him going forward because I don't want him to sulk. He started to sulk a little bit around this time. But this is a really interesting race tactically because basically my fella's starting to go now. We're running downhill here. I always think if you can make a bit of ground downhill, it's not quite free ground, but it's definitely easier than making it uphill. But Brian is slowing up the pace. Look how the field is compacted. I'm just keeping my fella wide. And I'm keeping him going forward at a constant pace. I'm not slowing him down. Ruby's pulled out there because he's seen Jack Kennedy, doesn't want to put him in a pocket. And my fella wings this, and suddenly I'm gone to the front. Ruby's also seen, obviously, I think you've probably seen the pace is slow. That's why you've gone forward, is it?
I did, but I went forward, but I left you off then.
But she runs poorly, and my thinking of it was that you weren't going.
I wasn't.
But everyone follows you.
Yeah, so I just sat there.
Yeah, everyone follows Ruby. Again, this is a bit why you win a race.
This is you tactically, is it, Ruby?
I wasn't really going, and I'm thinking, well, Patrick's gone, and so is Brian, and the rest of them are sitting behind me, so I didn't look back and give anyone... I was sitting on nothing, so I just stayed sitting there.
And look, my lads winging jumps, but essentially I'm taking a chance that I'm being run away with, for want of a better word, but I'm jumping great and I've got the bit in my mouth. But everyone is following Ruby, as they should be. Why would you follow a 16-to-1 shot in blinkers who's running too keen? But Ruby's not going, and he ends up running poorly. And because of that, I end up getting 10 lengths that in a normal race you wouldn't get.
So did Brian let you go there, or did he just...
Brian, the same as me, doesn't actually end up going any faster. But the lads sat behind there waiting for me and Brian to go chasing Patrick. Only neither Brian and I are going that well. So we're playing, I suppose, poker with each other, hoping to God, like, either Patrick's going to come back to us. I'm thinking he's either going to come back and I have a chance, or he's going to stay away.
Yeah.
And by the time the lads behind realised that actually the danger is up the very front,
and we wing this. The whole thing is you need to wing races. But I remember here, I've changed my hands, I changed my stick, I run them up against the rail just to get them a fright, just keep them going. But I don't want to go for them, I want to keep them, so I'm just changing my hands, changing my stick, squeezing, clicking.
What does change your hands do? Just
you're changing the reins, so it's
telling the horse I'm here.
Should be a signal to go faster.
I'm doing everything without going for him. I'm doing everything to keep him going without going for him. Now I go for him, and we come down to the last, and I don't think I've ever done it in my life actually. I hit him one taken off, which Ruby was well able to do it. I was never coordinated enough to do it. But 1, 2, 3, and we get.
It's the second one, is the one that counts. It's the one on landing to get the strike, get the momentum back up.
But we win. But we won because look, the horses who were following me ran bad, and they're not in the picture. They ran bad. Everyone's followed them as they should. Why would you follow a 16-1 shot?
Yeah.
But that's put us in front in the title. I'm 5 I went into the week 3 winners behind Jamie. I'm 5 winners behind at the stage, so I'm 4 winners behind now after that. And I remember pulling up, Dave Mullins comes up and says, well done to me, he says, that makes up for losing the amateur championship, and I didn't quite, you can watch, he says something, watch, he looks back, I know what I said back to him, he says, no it doesn't. And he looks back, anyhow, but... I
think that the horse Dave Mullins is riding Brain Power.
Henderson one.
Yeah.
The white colours, okay. Okay, we're going to move on to Bacardys. Leg number 2 of your famous treble.
Yeah, Bacardys.
I'd won back there, isn't it?
I'd won a grade. I mean, last there. I'd won a grade 1 on my Christmas, I think.
No, you didn't. DRF.
Well, it wasn't DRF then, but it was whatever.
Chanel Farmer, yeah.
And Ruby had ridden him in Cheltenham, and something fell in front of you. I think, and he got brought down.
Did you? First hurdle down the back, and I pulled up.
But he was a horse that liked to be dropped in as well. He liked to be coming late. We had 4 or 5 nice Ken boys there with the white sleeves. Ruby's riding Let's Dance in the pink, and
Blueberries on the right.
Finian's Rainbow is Finian's Oscar is Paddy Power, and yeah, I'm coming through here. It's a great feeling when everyone's dropping back and you're just coming through, and horses get confidence in passing. And if you ever run yourself, you know yourself, you get confidence. I've had a shout at Brian Cooper here to keep in. You can see him keeping in, and I go by Ruby here, and I put my stick down before I get past Ruby. I think you let her shout me now to pick up my stick or something. So I was thinking to myself, I've already used it. But anyway, I think we kind of missed the last. We don't wing it anyway. But again,
that was good for Bacardys.
Yeah, and we got up. But again, a bit like Mellon, if I'd missed that, now it wasn't quite the same, but I'd missed that, I'd say, gee, I should have sent him. But and we get up, and that was a grade 1. And look, I wasn't riding as many professional races at the time, so.
And in the trainers now, you're ahead anyway at this stage, so you're protecting the lead.
And I'm 3 behind Jamie now.
Okay, but you've got all that going on. It's a grade 1, you've got the Jockeys Championship, and getting the old man over the line as well.
Now Willie's in front. A good bit in front now.
Good bit in front now, yeah.
Grade 1, of course, he's nearly untouchable now, is he?
Yeah.
And the last one is Montelbano.
This is a winner's hurdle, was it?
Winner's hurdle, and I'd ridden Montelbano quite a bit like Wicklow Brave, but had gone to the front from the start. He wore a hood, he was quite keen.
Is that you in front there?
Me in front of Montelbano in the rich colours. Ruby is riding in the other rich colours, a horse called Riven Light, who ended up being a miler. He didn't stay. So
how come you've got the exact same caps and everything?
He's a white cap.
I have a white cap, sorry.
Oh, okay, sorry.
But I've tried to do a Wicklow Brave, and I remember thinking here, says I'm very tired.
What's Davy Russell riding? In the grey colours?
Castle Grace Paddy, I think.
Yeah, you were trotting, but I ended up like, this is the Cardinals in now, this is.
What you did?
Oh, here, hello.
So that's you cruising on the outside?
Yeah. Now he is a bit soft, Riven Light. But like this.
Well, he didn't stay, wasn't it? He was just a miler.
Mine not staying. Just the second last hurdle we're coming from. There's no winning post down there.
So what, you should have been in behind then or something?
So when we're getting to him here, I should have got back. Missed the second last.
That's second last is such a vital hurdle.
Right, and then I pick him up and I squeeze him up and I go and take on Davy Russell instead of just staying in behind. When I came back on the bike, it's just there where I was.
Yeah.
I think I said to Davy turning and says, I think I've got the fractions wrong here or something. But I'm trying to, even though I'm going flat out, I'm trying to just keep him on the bridle as much as I can. Ruby comes by us, cuts the snot off Davy, and doesn't cut the snot off me. I think probably if I wasn't
same team,
he might have been slightly more. And then
suddenly, never got far enough by you to cut the snot off you, did I? No, I did. Jeez, that was poor.
It's another mistake, Ruby.
And then suddenly my last starts getting back up, and I'm not going faster. Riven Light just didn't stay.
Yeah.
And I treble in Punchestown on a day. Like, I mean, it was Doesn't get any better than that.
Incredible.
He's well used to it, but I
Did
haven't
you
done
win
it.
the Jockey Championship?
No, I got back to one, which I went down to the last race of the season, and
We got off a couple for you the next day.
I didn't win. Yeah,
Did you?
I got on one of Ruby's rides in the next day, and the saddle slipped. He made a mistake, and the saddle slipped after 5 or 6, and I won the big handicap hurdle on Open Eagle.
Right.
100 grand, 2.5 handicap hurdle. So that put me one behind, and I went down.
We did a weight on. I won the 4-year-old hurdle or something. You couldn't
Yeah,
do
there
it.
was something. Anyhow, so I got beat by one. Yeah, Jamie won.
That poem.
Yeah.
Couldn't do the weight.
So Willie got his title.
Willie got his title. You're doing it for the dad.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to look at Under Sceaux beating Duvan, which I'd say was a moment as well.
Big one, because obviously Duane's after falling with me, and I remember Willie was seriously considering putting Barry Geraghty on Under Sceaux, and he put me on him late. And I remember he got beaten at the year before with Ruby, and Ruby had done what you would normally do. He turned out at the back straight and sat against him, and kind of got out sprinted. I know I sprinted, but he wasn't fast. But I remember watching that and thinking, I want to do the opposite. So I turned into the back straight, let him rock, winged the 4th last and 3rd last, and said, catch me if you can. And he was just so good. I mean, 10 strides away, you could know what stride you were going to hit it at. And he loved racing, he put the head down. But just to beat Duvan after getting the fall for him, that was important in its own way. If Duvan had gone and won that race, maybe in second. So I got a great kick out of that. And 2 mile chase doesn't get much better than that.
Yeah, those 2 mile chases must be your favourite races to ride in as jockeys, are they? Because it is like make a mistake and you're gone nearly.
They're a thrill. They are a thrill. There's no doubt about that. Different races have different appeal for different reasons, but you're right. The likes of Under Sceaux, yeah,
Good jumpers and just
rocking on. But like I always loved. One of my favourite memories is riding him in Ryanair.
Really, yeah.
Yeah. So it just depends on the thrill that the horse is giving you. But Under Sceaux, he's a proper horse. Like I remember you talking about that race beforehand. You said you were going to send him, and I was thinking, yeah. And I often wonder had I had sent him in a champion chase as well. The year Sprinter Sacra beat him.
Yeah.
Sprinter Sacra done.
I know, yeah. But you look back at different things and you wonder what you should have done.
Okay, Classical Dream, the Stayers in 2021. And you were just saying a minute ago, this was actually the last of Ruby's horses in the yard.
Yeah. He was the last horse in Close Sutton that Ruby had ridden, so it's very much the end of an era in that sense. But
That's him in the red colours.
yeah,
right?
and he hadn't ran in a year, maybe 2 years, but I'd ridden him working the Cur the year before.
Was he a stayer at this stage, or was this the first time
This was his first time up with it.
He was always a stayer.
Right.
Only we couldn't convince Willie he was a stayer.
He won the Supreme.
I know he won a Supreme, but stayers win Supremes.
Yeah.
Brian Hayes in the green at the back gives James Burley a brilliant ride. I think Ruby, you maybe told him just to wait, and he sits and sits and sits. But my lad, he had some funny way of jumping. You have to always go forward him into his jumps. If you sat back on him at all,
His head would be nearly on the ground, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
He kept his head real low.
But I got a great feeling all of it. They've gone a real strong gallop and turned out this back. I'm just sitting, I'm just thinking again, don't get there too soon. Jamie Codd's in front of me, he picked up a spare ride. Norman Lee horse, sober tender. And this is a fright. Florin Porter jumps mad left here, and I'm just thinking, no, I don't want to get taken out of it. Poor old Johnny Moore got an earful anyway. But and just from here, it's just a case of steer him home. He settled great. Yeah, and I think a lot of people had a good few quid in him.
He was back from like 10s or 12s into 5s, I think so.
Yeah, I don't know what Paul injured. I don't think Paul's there, is he?
I was retired.
So Danny's there on Saturday, eh? Brian Hayes and James de Burley.
Barely hosed up.
Hosed up. I gave him a squeeze the last, and he put down, but at least he
Paul Ray Bacardys, no?
No, I think Sean O'Keefe's on Bacardys.
This wasn't you holding them together because you've nothing left in the tank. This is more like we're just going so easy.
I should have sat back up, but there's no need to ride him out. But yeah, I've been lucky that the champion hurdle, the champion chase, and the Gold Cup, and the champion and the stairs hurdle in Punchestown. But I've been second in the Gold Cup, but I need to try to get the Gold Cup to get the set in Punchestown.
Yeah. Okay, well that's Punchestown. Thank you very much, Patrick Mullins and Ruby, as always. Thank you very much for your insight, and for you guys at home, thanks for watching and enjoy Punchestown.
Watch live racing now on racingtv.com.